The rain hammered against the windows of the small coastal diner, streaking the glass with silver threads that looked like tears. Fitting, considering the night was about to shatter 25 years of silence, secrets, and sacrifice. Mia Hartley moved between tables with the tired rhythm of someone who had learned to survive on little sleep and too many worries. Life had shaped her into a quiet fighter, soft-spoken but strong-willed, a young woman who carried the weight of her mother's struggles on her shoulders without ever complaining. But that night, long after most customers had left, she would overhear something that would break open the story of her life, rewriting everything she thought she knew about love, loss, and family. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the hidden goodness in people, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. It was nearly midnight when the last few customers trickled out, leaving Mia alone with the hum of the old ceiling fan and the scent of fresh coffee that her mother, Grace, kept brewing even when no one came in. The diner was more than a workplace. It was their anchor, their shelter against the storms of life. Mia's mother had raised her alone, never speaking about the man who left before Mia ever took her first breath. Mia learned early not to ask questions that caused her mother's eyes to darken with pain. Tonight, Grace had asked Mia to finish wiping down the counter while she went into the back office to take a private call. But there was no phone ringing, and when Mia heard the soft murmur of voices, she frowned. Someone was back there, someone she hadn't seen come in. Quietly, she moved closer. Through the cracked door, she saw her mother standing stiffly, her back slightly hunched as though weighed down by something invisible. Sitting across from her was an old man, elegant despite his age, his suit pressed perfectly, his silver hair combed with care. His cane lay beside him, and his eyes carried a heaviness that only decades of regret could shape. Mia froze. She had served him earlier that evening without noticing anything unusual. He had ordered nothing but black coffee. But now, in the shadowed office light, she saw the trembling in his hands, the sorrow in his face. Her mother's voice cracked like thin glass. "You promised you'd stay away. You promised you wouldn't disrupt her life." The elderly man's reply was soft but firm. "Grace, I'm dying. I just wanted to make sure you two are taken care of before I go." Mia's heart slammed into her ribs. Taken care of? Why would this stranger say such a thing? Grace shook her head, tears slipping down. "You don't get to show up after 25 years and pretend you care." 25 years. Mia was 25. Something inside her snapped awake. The old man leaned forward, gripping the cane like it was the only thing keeping him upright. "I have regretted it every single day. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because my family threatened you, threatened the baby. My world was dangerous back then, and I was a coward. I stayed away to protect you both." Mia's knees weakened. Her mother's cry tore through the room like a wound reopening. "You should have fought for us," Grace whispered. "You should have chosen us." "I know," the man said brokenly, "and I will carry that guilt to my grave. But please, please let me meet my daughter before it's too late." Mia's breath hitched. The floor tilted. She stumbled backward, stunned, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure they could hear it. That man, that frail, sorrow-filled man, was her father. She didn't know how long she stood there frozen between two worlds, the one she knew and the one collapsing beneath her. When she finally found her legs, she slipped away before either of them noticed. She pressed her hands to her chest, trying to breathe through the tide of emotions flooding her. Anger, confusion, grief, betrayal, longing, everything tangled like thorns inside her. The man she had grown up imagining was nowhere close to the man in the back office. She had pictured a careless drifter, a selfish wanderer, someone who walked away without effort. But the man she saw looked like someone who had spent decades haunted by shadows.
When Grace finally stepped out, her eyes swollen and red, she flinched at the sight of Mia. For a moment, mother and daughter stood face to face, both trembling, both terrified. "Mia," Grace whispered. "I heard everything," Mia said quietly. Her mother broke. She collapsed into Mia's arms, sobbing like a woman who had held the truth for too long. And as Mia held her, she realized she didn't know what to feel. Her life felt rewritten in a single moment. The world outside kept raining. When Mia finally gathered the courage to enter the back office, the elderly man looked up at her with eyes that immediately filled with tears. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but no words came. Mia remained silent, letting the tension breathe, letting her heart decide what to do. Her entire life she had wanted answers.
Now that she had them, she wasn't sure she was ready. But the pain in his eyes felt real, raw, too human to deny. For the next hour, he told her everything. His name was Charles Whitmore, founder of Whitmore Enterprises, a billionaire who once had everything except the courage to fight for the woman he loved. He spoke not like a businessman, but like a broken man who had spent a lifetime building towers of money, while his heart stayed buried under years of regret. He told her how he first met her mother, a waitress working double shifts to survive, how he fell in love with her warmth, her strength, her laughter, how his wealthy, merciless family had forbidden their relationship, threatening to destroy Grace's life and take the baby away. He confessed how fear consumed him, how he ran, how power meant nothing when it came to protecting the ones he loved. By the time he finished, Mia was trembling. He reached into his coat, pulled out a letter, sealed, yellowed, edges worn. "I wrote this the day you were born," he whispered. "I carried it for 25 years, hoping one day I'd have the courage to give it to you." Her hands shook as she accepted it. But before she could open it, Charles coughed violently, his frail body folding in on itself. Mia and Grace rushed to him, their hands trying to steady him. The fear that flashed in his eyes was unmistakable. Within minutes, the ambulance arrived. Mia rode with him the whole way, even though they had exchanged barely a sentence. But something deeper, something unspoken, connected them in that moment. Blood, history, fate. The ride felt endless. At the hospital, Charles was taken into emergency care. Mia and Grace waited in the cold hallway, their hearts beating in sync with the beeping machines beyond the closed doors. As hours passed, Mia opened the letter. Inside was a message written in a younger hand, full of hope, fear, and trembling love. "If you are reading this, it means I failed you. But I want you to know I loved you from the moment I knew you existed. I left not because you were unwanted, but because the world I lived in was too dangerous for you. If life gives me one chance to make it right, I will take it. If not, I pray you grow to be everything I never was. Brave, compassionate, strong, like your mother." Mia pressed the letter to her chest as tears poured down. 2 hours later, a doctor emerged. Charles had survived the crisis, but he didn't have much time left. His heart was failing. For the next 3 weeks, Mia and Grace stayed by his side. Slowly, cautiously, painfully, Mia allowed herself to know him, really know him. He wasn't perfect. He was flawed, broken, riddled with regrets. But he tried. And for Mia, who had grown up longing for even scraps of fatherly affection, that effort felt like a miracle. He told her stories about his youth, taught her little things about business, asked about her dreams. The more she learned, the more she realized how much she had missed. Sometimes she hated him for it, and sometimes she cried with him, and sometimes they simply sat in comfortable silence. Then, one evening, he handed her a folder. "Everything I have, everything I built, I want it to go to you and your mother. Not because of money,
but because it's my last chance to give you something, anything, after giving you nothing your whole life." Mia shook her head, tears streaming. "I don't care about any of that. I just wish I had known you sooner." His smile was weak but full of warmth. "Knowing you now is enough." He passed away quietly 2 nights later, holding Mia's hand with Grace on his other side. The room felt painfully still when his breath faded. Mia felt something inside her break and heal at the same time. The funeral was private, quiet, peaceful, nothing like the billionaire facades he once lived behind. Mia stood at the grave, feeling the weight of all she had lost and gained. She no longer felt fatherless. She felt connected to a story bigger than pain, one filled with mistakes, forgiveness, and late-found love. With the inheritance, Mia didn't choose luxury. Instead, she renovated the diner, the place where everything began. She turned it into a warm community space where anyone, rich or poor, could find comfort, kindness, and a hot meal. She named it Charles's Corner, not to honor the billionaire, but to honor the man who, even in his last days, tried to be the father he never had the courage to be. Months later, the diner glowed again with life. Mia stood behind the counter, watching people smile, families gather, strangers connect. Her heart felt full, not because of the money or the new beginning, but because she had finally understood something. Sometimes life doesn't give you perfect stories. It gives you broken ones. And sometimes those broken stories become the ones that heal you. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support truly means more than you know. Before you go to the ending,